I always thought the worst kind of betrayal came from strangers, people you didn't know, didn't love. But I was wrong. Betrayal hurts the most when it comes from the people you trust the deepest. My name's Rachel, I'm 28, and until a few weeks ago, I was in a relationship with a guy named Tom. We'd been together for almost 3 years. He wasn't perfect, no one is, but he made me laugh, remembered my coffee order, and knew how to calm me down when anxiety kicked in. I thought he was my person. And then there's my sister, Sarah, 26, the golden girl, the one everyone adores. She's the type that walks into a room and everyone lights up, including, apparently, my boyfriend. It started subtly, too subtle for anyone else to notice, but I did. The way she laughed a little too hard at his jokes, even the dumb ones. The way her hand lingered on his arm when she said something. The way she always found a reason to be near him at family dinners. Always sliding into the seat next to him like it was a coincidence. I brushed it off at first. I mean, she's my sister. What was I supposed to think? That she'd crossed that line? But it didn't stop. It was her wedding coming up. A huge, fancy affair that had taken over our family's lives for months. I was a bridesmaid. I was supposed to be helping her pick napkins and write vows, not worrying about her making googly eyes at my boyfriend. But that's exactly what I was doing. I brought it up to Tom one night after we got home from one of those endless wedding events. I tried to sound casual, but the words came out shaky. Do you notice the way Sarah acts around you lately? He looked at me, completely clueless. Or maybe pretending to be. What do you mean? So I told him. The looks. The touching. The way she seemed to light up when he entered the room. He laughed. Babe, come on. She's excited. It's her wedding. You're overthinking it. But I wasn't. Not anymore. It only got worse after that. Every time we were all in the same room, I felt like I was losing my mind. Was it real, or was I paranoid? Was I seeing things that weren't there? Or were they really hiding something in plain sight? The tipping point came one afternoon at a family barbecue. I'd gone inside to grab a drink, but when I came back out, I saw them, Sarah and Tom, standing way too close, whispering. She touched his chest. He didn't pull away, and when they noticed me watching, they jumped apart like they'd been caught. Because they had. I didn't say anything that day, but something inside me shifted. And that's where it all really began to unravel. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. There are plenty more exciting stories coming your way. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying that moment in my head. Her hand on his chest, his body language, the startled look they both had when they realized I was watching. My chest felt tight like something was lodged right between my ribs. I couldn't decide what was worse, the betrayal I suspected or the fact that I kept gaslighting myself into thinking I was imagining it. The next morning, I woke up exhausted but full of resolve. I had to talk to Sarah. If she was crossing a line, I needed her to hear it from me, not in an explosion, not through screaming and accusations. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could appeal to the version of her I once trusted. The version of her I grew up with. The one who used to braid my hair before school and sneak me candy when Mom said no. So I called her. My voice trembled a little, but I asked her to meet me for coffee. I just want to talk, I said. She agreed. Cheerfully, as if everything was normal. That almost broke me. We met at a small cafe near her apartment. She looked perfect as always. Flawless makeup, flawless curls, flawless smile. And I sat there, clutching my coffee cup like it was an anchor keeping me from floating into panic. She chatted about wedding vendors, the dress fitting, the seating chart. I could barely hear her. I was too focused on the fact that I was about to break our relationship wide open. Finally, I took a breath. Sarah, I said quietly, we need to talk about Tom. Her smile faltered. What about him? She asked, tilting her head just slightly. Playing innocent. I've noticed the way you act around him lately. The flirting. The touching, the way you look at him. She blinked, then let out a soft, disbelieving laugh. Are you serious? Yes, I said, my voice stronger now. It's not okay, Sarah. Whether you realize it or not, you're crossing lines. And I needed to stop. Her face twisted. Oh my God, are you actually accusing me of what? Trying to steal your boyfriend. I'm telling you that your behavior is making me uncomfortable, I said, trying so hard not to break. And I'm asking you, as my sister, to respect my relationship. She stood up, so suddenly her chair screeched against the floor. You're unbelievable, she hissed. Paranoid and insecure. No wonder Tom looks so drained around you. That hit like a slap. I sat there, stunned, as she stormed out of the cafe, leaving me behind, just like she always had when things didn't go her way. When I got home, Tom was on the couch. He looked up when I walked in and immediately knew something was wrong. What happened? I told him. Everything. How I confronted Sarah. How she reacted. How she blamed me. He sat there, staring at the floor. And then he looked up and said the one thing I didn't want to hear. I think you made a mistake. A mistake. So I was the villain now? He insisted I'd overreacted. That Sarah was just being friendly. That I'd blown things out of proportion and embarrassed myself. You could have just talked to me more, he said. Not go all nuclear on your sister a week before her wedding. I felt like I was falling through a trapdoor, and no one, not my boyfriend, not my sister, was there to catch me. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just walked into the bedroom, shut the door, and cried. Silently. Fiercely. Until there was nothing left but the sick, hollow feeling in my gut that maybe I was about to lose everything. And I still hadn't seen the worst of it. I didn't sleep that night either. Not because I was unsure of myself this time, no, that part was gone. What kept me awake was something darker. Anger. Betrayal. And the terrifying realization that I was starting to see Tom the way I had started seeing Sarah, as a stranger wearing the face of someone I used to love. The days that followed were a blur. I avoided Sarah's calls, though they were few, and when my parents called to ask what was going on between us, I gave them a vague answer, hoping to buy myself time. What was I even hoping for? Maybe I thought Sarah would cool off. Maybe Tom would realize how inappropriate things had gotten. Maybe I was just clinging to the delusion that this wasn't a disaster spiraling out of control. But then, it happened. A week before the wedding, I stopped by my parents' house. I didn't call ahead. I was just dropping off a gift for Sarah. Something I had ordered months ago, back when I still believed we were close. It was a handmade wedding scrapbook. I had poured hours into it. I never even made it to the front door. As I walked around the side of the house, I heard voices, low, muffled, close. Something told me to stop. I edged quietly toward the sound, hidden by the row of rose bushes near the garden wall. That's when I saw them. Tom and Sarah. His hands on her waist. Her arms around his neck. Their lips locked in a kiss so intimate, so hungry, I could feel my heart collapse inside my chest. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't innocent. And it sure as hell wasn't my imagination. I stood frozen, too stunned to move, too sick to even breathe. Then the world snapped back into motion. What the hell is this? I screamed. They jumped apart like they'd been electrocuted. Sarah's face went white. Tom's mouth opened, searching for words that wouldn't come. It's not what it looks like, Tom managed. I laughed, bitter, broken. It's exactly what it looks like. Sarah stepped toward me. Please, listen. I didn't mean it. Don't, I snapped. Don't insult me by pretending this was a mistake. That was not a moment of weakness. That was betrayal. And it's been going on for a lot longer than this, hasn't it? Neither of them answered. I turned on my heel and walked away, my legs trembling beneath me. I didn't stop to hear their apologies or excuses. I didn't want to see their shame, or worse, their cowardice. When I got home, I packed a bag. I couldn't stay in the same space where Tom had kissed me goodnight and kissed her in daylight. I sent him a message. Just one. We're done. Don't contact me again. Then I turned off my phone. I drove to a hotel in the next city, the tears finally falling once I knew no one could see me. I stayed in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my entire life had unraveled in a single moment. My sister, my boyfriend, my family, all of them had made me feel like I was the unstable one, like I was imagining things, like I was the problem. But I wasn't. They were. And I was finally done letting anyone make me feel otherwise. The day after I caught them, I barely spoke to anyone. I stayed holed up in that quiet hotel room, curtains drawn, phone still turned off. My body felt like it weighed 100 pounds more than usual, and even the thought of standing up to brush my teeth took effort. But there was one person I couldn't stop thinking about. Mark, Sarah's fiancé. The man who, as far as anyone knew, was still planning to stand at the altar in 6 days and marry a woman who had just made out with her own sister's boyfriend behind a hedge. I didn't want to be the one to break his heart. But I couldn't stay silent either. He deserved to know. So that afternoon, I turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls lit up the screen. Tom, Sarah, my mom, even my dad. I ignored them all and scrolled until I found Mark's number. My hands were trembling as I hit call. He answered on the second ring. Hey, he said, sounding confused. Is everything okay? Sarah's been freaking out. She said you disappeared. I took a shaky breath. Mark, We need to talk. There was a pause. Okay, what's going on? I didn't sugarcoat it. I told him everything. How I'd noticed the strange behavior between Sarah and Tom weeks ago. How I tried to address it with both of them. How everyone, including him, had brushed me off like I was imagining things. And finally, how I had walked around the side of the house and found them kissing, touching, like they had no shame and no fear of getting caught. I could hear the silence on the other end of the line. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, I whispered, "I'm so sorry. I wish I were wrong. I really, really do." There was another long silence. Then finally, Mark spoke, his voice hollow and controlled. "I appreciate you telling me," he said. "I need some time to think." And then the line went dead. I stared at the phone, unsure how to feel. Part of me wondered if I'd done the right thing. If I'd just destroyed someone else's world the same way mine had been destroyed. But deep down, I knew I hadn't caused the destruction. I had just refused to be part of the lie. The next few days were quiet. No one reached out again. Not even Sarah. Maybe she was trying to control the damage, to salvage what she could. Or maybe, deep down, she knew the damage was already done. The wedding was getting closer. I wasn't going. That much was certain. But part of me still wondered, would Mark? Would he go through with it? Would he forgive her? Would he choose to marry the woman who had kissed her own sister's boyfriend? And then, the day came. And with it, an answer I never expected. The morning of the wedding, I sat in a small cafe downtown, staring into a lukewarm cup of coffee I hadn't touched. I didn't know what to feel. Dread? Relief? Grief? Then, around 5 p.m., my cousin Emma called. She was whispering frantically into the phone like she'd just stumbled out of a soap opera. "Oh my God," she said, breathless. "You're not going to believe what just happened." I froze. "What?" "The wedding. It didn't happen." I blinked. "What do you mean it didn't happen?" She sucked in a breath and began. Everyone was there. The whole church was packed. Sarah walked down the aisle in this huge dress, smiling like nothing was wrong. Your parents were beaming. But Mark. Emma paused for dramatic effect. Mark looked like a statue. Pale. Cold. Barely blinking. He waited until the moment the priest said, "Do you, Mark, take Sarah?" And then, instead of answering, he stepped forward and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Before I make a mistake, there's something I need to say." My heart started racing. Emma continued, her voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. He said, "I spent the last week trying to wrap my head around a betrayal I never saw coming. A betrayal that didn't come from a stranger, but from someone I was going to marry, and her sister's boyfriend." Gasps, murmurs. You could practically hear the guest's confusion through the phone. "Then he turned to your parents," Emma said, "and told them the truth. He said, if you're wondering why your name disappeared, maybe ask Sarah what she was doing in the garden with her boyfriend a week ago." I covered my mouth. "He said that." "Word for word," Emma confirmed. Sarah turned white, then red. She started crying, tried to say it wasn't true. But Mark didn't even look at her. He took the mic, apologized to the guests, and said, "There won't be a wedding today. And I hope someday you all understand why." Then he left. Just walked out. Left Sarah sobbing at the altar in front of 150 people. I couldn't speak. I just sat there, frozen. Emma went on. "Your mom was furious. She started yelling at Sarah right there in front of everyone. Your dad looked like he wanted to melt into the pew. And Sarah?" I asked quietly. "She ran into the back room. Some of the bridesmaids went after her. But honestly," Emma hesitated, "it was like no one really knew what to do. Half the guests left. Some stayed out of morbid curiosity. It was chaos. When the call ended, I sat in silence for a long time. The truth had finally come out. Not in secret. Not behind closed doors. But publicly, openly, where no one could deny it anymore. It wasn't the closure I expected. It wasn't revenge. But it was justice. For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt like I could breathe. The days after the wedding felt surreal. I stayed away from home, still holed up in that small rented room across town. My phone barely stopped buzzing texts from relatives, some expressing sympathy, others demanding answers. Even people I hadn't spoken to in years reached out, as if my personal disaster had become some kind of family-wide event. But I ignored most of them. I needed space. 3 days after the wedding, I finally got a message from Mark. "Thank you for telling me the truth. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that alone." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "You didn't deserve what happened either. I hope you find peace after all this." That was it. We didn't talk again, and maybe that was for the best. As for Tom, I blocked him completely. He tried calling, texting, emailing. He even showed up at my apartment once, but I wasn't there. My neighbor said he looked panicked and pathetic, which was the most satisfying update I could have asked for. Sarah didn't try to reach out. Not once. She went quiet. No Instagram posts, no stories, no engagement with friends. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, she moved in with a friend and hadn't been back to my parents' house. And honestly, I didn't care. Whatever guilt, shame, or consequences she was facing, she'd brought on herself. But the real fallout came when my parents finally reached out. My mom called, sounding hesitant and tired. She didn't even start with small talk. "We're sorry," she said. "We should have listened to you." I didn't respond. "You were right, and we were blind. We hurt you. And I don't know how to fix that, but I want to try." The silence stretched. Finally, I replied, "That's a start. We haven't repaired everything, not yet. Maybe we never fully will. But she's trying, and I appreciate that more than I expected. As for me, I'm healing. Slowly, but surely. I started therapy. I go every week now, working through the betrayal, the grief, the gaslighting I endured for so long. I didn't realize how deep the scars were until I started talking about them out loud. I changed my number, deleted old pictures, got rid of everything that reminded me of Tom. I also took a solo weekend trip to the coast, just me, the ocean, and a journal. I wrote down every painful memory, and then I burned the pages. Cliché? Maybe. But it helped. Now, months later, I've started dating again. Nothing serious, just casual, but it feels good to remember that I'm still worthy of love. Real love. Honest love. And the best part? I trust myself now. When I feel like something's off, I speak up. When I sense disrespect, I walk away. I've learned that protecting your peace doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you powerful. To anyone going through something similar, I'll leave you with this. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. And when you feel something is wrong, even if the whole world tells you otherwise, don't ignore it. Because your instincts? They're often the only ones telling you the truth. And you deserve to live in that truth. Always.